Welcome to channel. Hope you all will be fine and have been doing great. Before lecture, let's do an activity. So in this activity, I will give you some colored words and all you have to do is just say the color but not read the word. I repeat, you have to say the color in which the word has been written but not read the word. For example, what is the color of this say word? It is green. In a similar fashion, you have to say the color but not read the word. Then, are you ready? Was this confusing? Was your brain put to test? I know it was. Do you know why it happened? It happened because of your brain. Your brain was telling you the color of the word as well as your brain was telling you the word. That's why you were confusing during this activity. Hope you have got what are we going to study. Yes, we are going to study your important organ, the brain. So without wasting your precious time, let's get started the video. Start from the human nervous system. Human nervous system is divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. We use an abbreviation for the central nervous system as well as for the peripheral nervous system. CNS stand for central nervous system and PNS stand for peripheral nervous system. Then central nervous system is further divided into brain and spinal cord. Today the main topic is brain. What is brain? Basically, brain is commanding center of your body. It controls all your body functions and organ system. It controls your respiratory system, it controls your digestive system, your reproductive, your excretory, all the body systems are under the control of your brain. That's why we called brain is commanding your body. Clear? Now, the human brain is composed of nerve tissue. The brain is an organ that made up of large mass of nerve tissue. Nerve tissue shows that it is made up of some type of cell. So, your brain basic cell is nerve cell. So, before discussing the brain weight and other functions and structure, let's discuss the structure of the nerve cell so we can better understand the brain structure and function. Here you have a structure of a neuron. Neuron consists of cell body and axons. Here you can see the structure of dendrites. These dendrites are used for the transmission of the sensory information from one neuron to another neuron. Now, nerve cell basically transmit information from brain to other part of the nervous system and between the different parts of the brain. So these are used to transmit the information. Clear? So this is the structure of one neuron. When neurons are joined, they form nerve tissue. And when nerve tissue are joined, they form your brain. That's why we call your brain is a large mass of nerve tissue. Now you can better understand what is nerve and what is nerve tissue and how your brain is composed by these nerves. Okay, what is the weight of the brain? Basically, the human brain weighs about 3 pounds, which is about 2% of your total body weight. It means that your brain ranges is 1.4 to 1.5 kg. How your brain is protected? Your brain is protected by cranium, meninges and cerebrospinal fluid. Let's discuss the cranium first. Cranium is basically a part of skeletal system, and cranium is consist of 8 cranial bones. 8 cranial bones covers your brain and give the protection to your brain. Next we have meninges. Do you know the fact that blood vessels are only present outer region of your brain? No blood vessels are present inside your brain. So basically triple layer of meninges encloses and protect those blood vessels. And what are the function of the blood vessels? Blood vessels basically transport the oxygen and nutrients to your brain. Next we have cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid give a cushion-like protection to your brain. Clear? So how your brain is protected? Your brain is protected by cranium, meninges and CSF. Next we have the division of the brain. Your brain is divided into 3 parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain is further divided into thalamus, hypothalamus and cerebrum. While if we talk about the hindbrain is divided into pons, cerebellum and medulla. We are going to discuss the forebrain first. The first part of the forebrain is thalamus. Now, what is the location of the thalamus? The location of the thalamus is just below the cerebrum. Okay, now let's discuss the functions of your thalamus. Thalamus basically receives sensory information from the various parts of your body, like air, like skin, and within the body. So where is the location of the thalamus? It is below the cerebrum. And what are the functions of the thalamus? It receives sensory information from various body parts. The next part of forebrain is hypothalamus. What is the position of hypothalamus? Hypothalamus is present below the thalamus. Now what are the functions of the thalamus? First is hormone production, then it controls body temperature, water balance, sleep-awake cycle, feelings such as sorrow, pain, pleasure and fear. Here you can see the location of the hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus is consist of a very important gland that is called pituitary gland. Do you know that pituitary gland is the largest gland of endocrine system, and it is present inside the hypothalamus and under the control of hypothalamus. Next we have hippocampus. So hippocampus is important in learning, and it is formation of long-term memories. When you learn something, it become memory and it stored in your hippocampus. So that's why hippocampus play an important role in your long-term memory, in your learning. So hypothalamus has also pituitary gland and hippocampus. If we move back, then you can see in this picture that hypothalamus and below the hypothalamus the pituitary gland is present. So pituitary gland is the largest gland of endocrine system, and where is the location of pituitary gland? It is present in hypothalamus. Okay. The third and the largest part of forebrain is cerebrum. Cerebrum is basically the pinkish wrinkle structure of the brain, and it is divided into 2 parts by a line. And do you know what is the name of this line? It is called corpus callosum. Basically, corpus callosum is a band of axons, and your both part of the brain coordinate with each other by this corpus callosum. Okay, so we divided the cerebrum into 2 parts, and each part is called cerebral hemisphere. Hemi means half. So we called cerebral hemisphere. We called right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. And do you know the fact? Your right cerebral hemisphere controls your left part of body, while if we talk about the left cerebral hemisphere, it controls your right part of body. Clear? So what is cerebrum? It is pinkish wrinkle structure. It is divided into 2 parts, right cerebral hemisphere, left cerebral hemisphere. Now let's talk about the cerebral cortex. Cortex usually used for outer region. Okay, so cerebral cortex means that cerebral outer region. So outer covering of cerebral hemisphere is known as cerebral cortex and it consists of four lobes. So your each right and left cerebral hemisphere consist of four lobes. What are the name of these lobes? Frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe. Clear? So these four lobes are present in each hemisphere. First is frontal, then parietal, occipital and temporal. Now we are going to discuss the functions of these lobes. Okay, these are the functions of the lobes. Let's discuss the frontal lobe first. The frontal lobe name shows that it is present at the front region of the brain and both right and left cerebral hemisphere has frontal lobe. So frontal lobe is involved in reasoning, motor control, emotions, language, involved in planning and coordinating movement. If we talk about the parietal lobe, so parietal lobe is basically involved in processing of sensory information. It receives the sensory information from the skin, such as occipital lobe is involved in visual information. It is responsible for interpreting incoming visual information. Visual information means that it is connect with your eye structure. So yes, occipital lobe is involved in visual information. Then we have temporal lobe. Temporal lobe concerned with hearing and smell. Hearing and smell means that it will be connected with your ear and the nose. Okay, so these are the functions of the lobe. Now let's move toward the 3D structure of your forebrain. Let's discuss the cranium and your forebrain, cerebrum, hypothalamus and thalamus. Here we have 3D structure. Don't get confused. We are not going to discuss the skeletal system. Basically, I am showing you the brain protection. So here is the cranium and your brain is protected by the cranium. If I remove this cranium, then there will be your brain. Okay, let's remove this cranium. Now you can see your brain structure, the wrinkled pinkish color. What is this? This is a cerebrum. Okay, let's discuss the cerebrum first. Now you can see your cerebrum. So this is a cerebral cortex and cerebral cortex is divided into four lobes. Okay, so these lobes are known as frontal lobe and you can see these are present in pair. This is a frontal lobe of right cerebral hemisphere and this is a frontal lobe of left cerebral hemisphere. So this is a frontal lobe. If we move this skeleton, then we have temporal lobe and here you can see the location of the temporal lobe. It is present near your ear region. This is a temporal lobe. So temporal lobe are also present in pair. This is a frontal lobe. This is a temporal lobe. Let's move where you have this is the occipital lobe. You can see that occipital lobe are also present in pair. Now this is a parietal lobe and parietal lobe is also present in pair. Okay, now you can see your corpus callosum clearly. Corpus callosum is basically coordinating the both right and left cerebral hemisphere. Your cerebral hemisphere is coordinating through this corpus callosum. This line is known as corpus callosum. So clear. So this is a structure of your cerebrum. Now I will remove this cerebrum and after removing this we will discuss forebrain structure further. I removed your cerebrum and here you can see your brain internal structure. Okay, I am also going to remove this cerebral sphere. Let's see where is the location of your thalamus and hypothalamus. So we have discussed the cerebrum and cerebrum different lobes. Now where is your thalamus? So here you can see this. if I remove this ganglia, then this portion is known as thalamus. Now you can see clearly that this portion is known as what? It is known as your thalamus. Okay, this a small portion is known as your pituitary gland. So you can imagine the position of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is basically present below the thalamus and pituitary gland is present in. This video is about the structure of forebrain. We have discussed the functions of the forebrain, functions of cerebrum, function of thalamus and hypothalamus, and 3D structure of the forebrain. Inshallah, we will discuss hindbrain and midbrain in our next video. So stay blessed, stay home, take care, Allah Hafiz.